Two Carroll County girls have gone missing near the Monon High Bridge Trail in Delphi.
The two 13-year-old girls went missing hours ago. Officers, law enforcement, they have stopped the search for the night.
To the killer, who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight.
Police have arrested and jailed 50-year-old Richard Allen in connection with the double murder.
A bullet found just feet from the girls is a match to a weapon registered to Allen.
He was right there, living life every day.
We have seen theories about, drug dealers who actually did it, about Satanists who actually did it.
Most of us have never heard of Odinism.
Odinism. That it was a given that someone was trying to replicate a Germanic rune script, possibly associated with Odinism.
Where's the case against Richard Allen? What's his motive?
Richard Allen, you child murderer! Why did you do it? Shame on you! Shame on you, Richard! You're going to prison for the rest of your life! Shame on you, Richard Allen!
Welcome to the broadcast. This video discusses sensitive topics and is intended for a mature audience. The purpose of this video is to be informative. It is not an attack on benevolent religious followers. There has been a significant development in the Delphi case. The defense for suspect Richard Allen has made interesting claims and given insight into the well-kept secret that is the crime scene. They claim that Richard Allen could not have committed the crime as there are key non-secular signatures at the crime scene, which ties to believers in Odinism. They say Allen does not practice this religion. Odinism Explained. Odinism is a term for heathenry, meaning it is a pagan religion based on Germanic pre-Christian beliefs and the worshipping of gods such as Odin and Thor. Usually these gods are associated with Nordic culture. Odinists often look to history and genetic ancestry when they try to connect with their beliefs and practices. In the US today, Odinism has been co-opted by a minority of racist extremists, many of which are male and convert in prison. Let's compare what Richard Allen's defense has released and the facts as I have found them. I am not an expert on Odinism and can only work with the information that has been made public. Number 13. The murders occurred on February 13, 2017. I can't find any sort of Odinist festival or solstice that pertains to this date. However, the number 13 is a negative number. There are many examples of horrific high-profile murder cases that have been committed on the 13th of the month. Examples include Delphi, the murder of Kitty Genovese, the murder of a pregnant Shannon Watts and her two children by Chris Watts, the first Fall River murder, the Amityville murders, and the Idaho 4 slayings, to name a few. Additionally, Richard Allen's home was searched on October 13th, 2022. 13 days later, he was arrested. His pre-trial was on January 13, 2023. One of the victims was 13 years old. There is a story in Norse mythology about the number 13. There were 12 gods having a dinner party in Valhalla. The trickster god Loki, who was not invited, arrived as the 13th guest. He arranged for Hodor to shoot Balder with a mistletoe-tipped arrow. Balder, whose only weakness was mistletoe, died. The earth went dark. It was considered a bad and unlucky day. This major event in Norse mythology caused the number 13 to be considered unlucky. Since this crime, Delphi and the shroud of darkness over it is a tragic representation of this myth. Modus operandi. Minority Odinist extremists and or individuals from the branch of Odinism are so true, tend to kill people using guns. Their ideological MO is mass murder, terrorism, and even shutting down power grids. On April 13, 2014, Frazier Glenn Miller, a supremacist and alleged Odinist, killed 3 people, including a 14-year-old boy. There is apparently little evidence that he was in fact a practicing Odinist, because he would rant about any religion. Note that the date of this crime was the 13th of the month. Anders Breivik killed 77 in Norway's worst mass shooting. In his trial, he told the court that he named his rifle Gungnir after Odin's magical spear and his handgun Mjolnir for Thor's hammer. Anders was born on February 13th. In the same year as the Delphi case, there was a separate instance of a murder by an Odinist. On New Year's Eve in Utah, Breezy Otterson and her boyfriend Riley Powell were murdered. The killer was Jared Baum, a racist Odinist with many tattoos. He threw the couple down a mine shaft. Also, and I couldn't make this up, he was a participant in the murder of a black man named Lonnie Blackmon. Blackmon was stabbed by Troy Kell 67 times. Troy Kell was born on June 13th. Sacrifice. Historically, Odin worshippers practiced human sacrifice by executing convicts, prisoners of war, or individuals that volunteered. You might be thinking, but didn't you use 67 for king in your other videos? I have found some instances where historians believe that even kings were sacrificed. The reason could be something like failure to ensure a good harvest. Human sacrifice was also practiced by the ancient Celtic Druids, Greeks, Phoenicians, and the Baltic people. The rune on the tree.
According to the memo, it's Libby's blood.
Okay.
According to the memo.
That's what the defense is saying.
Yes. I have not heard that part of it from my sources, but I was given a rendering of what the blood on the tree or whatever the substance on the tree appeared to be. And
that's what we're looking at right now.
This is more accurate. Now, several of the investigators told me they thought that it was a perhaps partial handprint of the person who committed the crime, leaned up against the tree, and that's how it was placed there.
Now, the defense is saying this is the letter F.
Yes. Now, we also have a second image where we have placed that rune, the F image, over this, and you can decide for yourself if it looks like the exact same image or not. Again, many investigators thought that it was a handprint or something that was just done during the commission of the crime and not intentionally placed there. But just like the sticks, Vinny, this was not taken as evidence. The tree was not cut down, the bark was not removed, it was left at the scene.
The defense claims that this blood is a Nordic rune. From my understanding, language is important. That is what we learn about here on my channel. The power of every letter. Runes, according to Nordic beliefs, hold power. Power surely would be the reason behind the ritual. So why then is this F not a blatant, clear and undebatable F? Stick runes and antlers. The defense says that these sticks placed on the bodies of the victims form Nordic runes. Even if the stick positions hadn't moved at all from the wind, I cannot find an example of stick placement on a body in any Odinist ritual. However, 3 of the sticks on Libby reminded me of the alchemy symbol for earth. It's also claimed that sticks were placed as horns on Abby. This iconography can be found in earth-worshipping pagan faiths. Here are some examples of a god with antlers being worshipped. Wotan, the Germanic form of the Nordic Odin, is considered a horned god of the hunt and madness. The ancient Celts of Britain and the Gallo-Romans worshipped a god with antlers named Cernunnos. We can see that in the pagan symbology of a deer man. Then of course this crime was committed at Deer Creek. Not only that, but I found a number for Holy Roman Empire matched with white nationalists. The media has used the latter repeatedly. Holy Roman Empire also equals 88. 88 is very important to racists. The Down the Hill podcast included a shot in the sheriff's department of a Roman soldier. I am not accusing the sheriff, just noting a possible minor thematic connection to ancient Europe and Britain. It is interesting that a lawsuit was filed against the sheriff for allegedly demoting a deputy sheriff over the Delphi murders and an election campaign. Back to the gods with antlers. There is also Dionysus of ancient Greece, the god of wine, ritual madness, religious ecstasy, insanity, and theatre. His female followers were called Maenads and would conduct rites in the mountains at night. When doing a Delphi reading, for a moment I tasted something chemical in my lips, like medicine. Not sure what that is about. Pan of Greek mythology and the god of the wild and hunt, though he is depicted with goat horns rather than antlers. I am probably making a mess of this name, but Gwen ap Nod is a Welsh example of a god with antlers. The Sorcerer is one name for a mysterious cave painting found in the cavern known as the Sanctuary in France, made around 13,000 BCE. Today the horned god is part of neo-paganism and is worshipped by Wiccans. A quick Google search of modern druid antlers comes up with several examples of horned crowns. There are also many stags in Nordic mythology. The importance of antlers extends further. In Sweden, remains of a 7,000-year-old female shaman were found. She was buried seated atop red stag antlers. We can go back even further with Mesolithic sites in Germany and England, where antler headdresses were discovered. Are antlers a definitive signature for Odinism? Are they strong markers in the actual crime scene, as the defense alleges? Sacred or holy groves. A grove is a grouping of trees with no underbrush. The origin of the word grove is unknown and cannot be found outside of any Germanic language other than Old English. The victims were certainly found in a grove. Groves are used for rituals in Odinism. However, that is by no means exclusive to Odinism. Other pagans do the same thing. In Odinism, part of the reason that groves are considered sacred is because they are used as burials. The girls' bodies were found on private property not far from Delphi Cemetery. Ritual dumping grounds don't need to be something that belongs to a specific group or cult. Ted Bundy used a grove as his killing field. He described it as sacred ground, and that once dead, the bodies belonged to him. He stated, "You then possess them, and they shall forever be a part of you. And the grounds where you kill them or leave them become sacred to you, and you will always be drawn back to them." It's where he wanted his ashes scattered after his death. Trees. Libby was touching a tree. In Norse mythology, the birch tree was sacred to the goddess Frigga, wife of Odin. It is possible that Libby was touching a birch tree, as they can be found in parts of Indiana, though I am not sure that the killer had this much depth when staging this scene. Deer Creek. There is something about water that is cleansing, baptismal, and holy. Some believe that water connects us to spirit, or use it for ritual purification. In ancient Britain, pagans would pour substances into the river. I wonder if evidence was found on the edge of Deer Creek. The author of Investigating Religious Terrorism and Ritualistic Crimes, Dawn Perlmutter, says that ritual murder scenes are typically laid out near bodies of water. The date numerology for this case was 52. 52 can relate to water, large bodies of water, or flood. The number 119 can relate to death in or around water, or around water after death. Druidism equals 119. This singular instance of 119 doesn't definitively implicate anyone. Extreme rituals. From the information that is out there, it seems like bloodletting may have been used on Libby and or Abby. Retired undercover FBI agent Scott B. spoke with Rolling Stone in 2022. He described an extremist group that drank the blood of a goat. They subsequently started throwing up, and if you read this incident, you will see the execution of it is quite different from Delphi. I have found one case where 9 Odinists took a blood oath over a 6-week-old baby girl. 9 is probably the most important number in Odinism. It appears that the baby girl was not murdered, and this incident was led by Bob Matthews, founder of a branch of this religion in the 80s. These 2 instances are the closest I've been able to find to the Delphi case. The Hanged Man. In Nordic mythology, the Hanged Man is Odin. This harks back to the legend of Odin and Yggdrasil, the world tree. Odin hung from the tree for 9 days to gain knowledge, while impaled with a spear. He sacrificed himself for himself. In ancient Nordic practice, a sacrificed body would be hung from a tree. Then a living person would meditate under the tree and the body at night, with the hopes that they would enter a spiritual state of mind, that the living soul could then piggyback with the dead soul to the underworld in order to learn about fate, destiny, gain knowledge and power. The search for the girls was called off on the night of the 13th. Neither girls in Delphi were hanging from a tree. Abby's legs were possibly placed in a way that represents the Hanged Man tarot card. If we go back, the Hanged Man is meant to represent Odin in the tarot. It is possible that the placement of Abby's legs was to represent someone hanging, but I don't know of any restraints being used, and the placement of her arms do not match typical Hanged Man depiction. Also, I don't know if any spear-like weapon was used on the victims. Number 9. 9 may be the most significant number in Odinism. There are 9 noble virtues to follow in Odinism. Odin hung from a tree for 9 days. There is a belief in the existence of 9 realms. Thor stumbled 9 times before dying in his final battle. The god Heimdall had 9 mothers. This might be why it was 9 men who took a blood oath over that baby I mentioned earlier. Admittedly, I also haven't found many 9s in this supposedly authentic Odinist case. The only example worth mentioning is that Abigail was born on the 23rd of the month. 23 is the 9th prime. Odin Night. This is not actually the proper word for those that practice Odinism, but it is a word that the defense has used repeatedly in their memorandum of support of the accused's motion for a Frank's hearing. Odinite is actually a type of mineral or crystal. Odinite equals 113. This is a deception number. It is the only 113 I have seen here, so it isn't something I'd describe as a big deal, but it is interesting that it is used multiple times incorrectly in a court document. Odinism and the prison system. The defense claimed that their client has been intimidated by guards wearing Odinist badges in prison. They claim that he admitted to his wife over the prison phone that he killed the 2 girls because he had been threatened by prison guards. According to the SPL Center, an Acid True Alliance publication lists 7 prison ministries in 5 states: Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, and Indiana. There is a growing amount of Odinist inmates across the country due to conversion while incarcerated. I'm not sure if this affects the faith of prison staff. Also, if it truly was an Odinist perp, then is it likely that that person would have a criminal record? Richard Allen, as far as I know, does not have a criminal record. There also appears to be a contingent of inmates practicing Druidism in Indiana. Modern Druids appear to be known for earth worship, not racism. Ancient Druids were known for human sacrifice. I don't want to delve into race too much, but I just want to ask, if there is a branch of ideology that is racist, then why do this to 2 little white girls? So to answer the question, is it really Odinism? Is it really Nordic? Not in its true form, set out by modern heathens. I'm not an expert, but this type of sacrifice was not the Nordic way. I also have some doubts about the alleged runes, the cause of death not matching the typical extreme perpetrator, and the demographic of the victims. The killer may have been inspired by TV and movies. I've heard of ritual abuse which was staged deliberately like a production set in order to be filmed, which means to say that, as we know, TV shows aren't the most accurate depictions of true practices and reality. It could also explain why it was conducted in broad daylight, as the set didn't need to have professional lighting out in the grove. Or it is possible that the perp may just be a psychopath that is making up his own rules and his own sacred place, like Ted Bundy. This video has been my analysis using publicly available information on the investigation. Facts may change. Comment below with what you think of Odinism in the Delphi case. Thank you for watching. Until next time.